Welcome to episode 24 of Blowing Wind with the Great Southern Brain Fart. This is Don, and this time around, I have got Quinn Lukas from the band Icarus Witch. For 15 years, Pittsburgh's Icarus Witch has been delivering dark, stylish, melodic hard rock and considered by many to be one of the forefathers of the new wave of traditional heavy metal movement. In 2012, the band returned with a new vocalist, Christopher Shiner, and released one of my top albums of the year with Rise. 6 years later, Icarus Witch is back with a new album called Goodbye Cruel World, and still fueled by the core founding members of Quinn, Lukas, and Jason Myers. Goodbye Cruel World features former Brimstone Coven vocalist Andrew DeCagna and is without a doubt one of my top albums of 2018. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome Icarus Witch guitarist Quinn to Blowin' Wind with the Great Southern Brain Fart. So Quinn, welcome home, bud.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Dude, I'm so glad to have you on, man. This is the first time I'll be interviewing you. I've interviewed Jason a couple times. So when I reached out to him, he was like, yeah, Quinn does the in-person stuff. I'm not too good at that.
Yeah, it's I don't know whether it's a backhanded compliment to me saying, hey, man, you never shut the fuck up. So go ahead and do the phone interviews and the in-person stuff. Said, all right, cool, whatever.
Well, I can already tell if that's the case that we're gonna hit it off like smashingly, because I've been, I'm pretty much a diarrhea of the mouth dude, so we should be fine. So
yeah, same here. Gift of gab was definitely bestowed upon me.
Yeah, it's so funny. Same here. And like even in my band, like everyone kind of like looks to me like as the default, like you do the interviews, dude. You're the one that talks all the time. You do it. I'm like, all right, fine. So
yeah, it's I wish I was as clerically involved as Jason, but I just don't have the patience.
It's a blessing and a curse, man. It really is. So 15 years, man. That is, especially in this day and time, or in this generation, I should say, is a pretty long fucking time to be around. And even though with the numerous lineup changes and whatnot, one of the things that I've always admired about Icarus Witch was that, the quality of the music and the output from the band never seems to suffer. Unlike most bands where they go through numerous lineup changes, like I don't mind naming names, like White Wizard, who had like a million lineup changes, but yet it seemed like with every change, the output just dropped, steadily. Whereas like I felt like with every change, it seemed like Icarus Witch became even somewhat of a stronger band than previously. Was that something you guys really strived for in general, or was it something that you were just like, man, we're fucking lucky it happened this way?
I'd like to say sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But no, it's one of those things where I think it's like multifaceted. Like whenever you're faced with, especially a major lineup change, as we've been, numerous times, it's easy just to kind of grab the next dude in line and go for it and try to make the best of it. But you do have to make conscious decisions on saying, okay, what's going to be right for the band or what's going to be right for the songs.
Right.
And I think that's something that Jason and I have always put first. We've always put the music first. We never worried about like, oh, you know what, this dude's such a cool guy. He's got a great voice, but if he doesn't fit the music, then what the hell's the point? You know what I mean? It's like, we could have someone, completely balls out screaming Halford style, but if it's not fitting what we're writing, it makes absolutely no sense.
No, that totally, that makes a lot of sense because, as we've seen with like other bands who kind of quickly go through lineup changes, sometimes the next guy, no matter, or gal, however great they are, might not be the best fit for the band, or, and you've got to like creatively and physically live with these people, and so if you can't do that, like even if the guy can sing like fucking Bruce Dickinson, it's not gonna be worth it if you can't get along.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, in both times around, whenever we were making the switch, it was just it was so easy for us to do because we had known, both Christopher and Andrew before, we worked with them as Icarus Witch, and we kind of knew it would be something that, that it was going to change the way we sounded in the way that we wanted to sound.
Correct.
It was like we kind of seen the forest through the trees. Like, all right, man, like, I don't know how the public's going to take it, but I think this band's going to be pretty fucking badass. That kind of thing. And with Andrew, I had worked with him in Iron Flame. A project that he'd started, and him and I we've known each other for a long time. All three of us, Jason, Andrew, and I, and we've always loved his voice. Always loved playing shows with his band. He was the fronting Dofka at the time, and always loved playing shows together. Awesome guy, and we always joked around about having a Maiden tribute band together. And he approached me about the Iron Flame thing, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude, I'm down. Melodic metal all day long."
I mean, it's already in your wheelhouse. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're like sidestepping into like salsa music or something.
Yeah, and. He's like, well, you haven't heard any of the stuff yet. It's like, dude, I know it's going to be awesome. Don't worry about it. And so when the time came around for, that we were in search of another singer, I was like, all right, I'm going to try something. So I sent Andrew some tracks we had been working on and asked him for, some outside input. And I didn't mention anything about about the songs being Witch tracks. And like, he instantly responded with like, dude, these are fucking awesome, like badass, and sent me like, his vocal takes on them, like demoed out. And I was like, this is going to be perfect. This is going to work absolutely perfectly. And so I kept on sending him songs, and pretty soon I think he got wise to me. He's like, hey man, is this Icarus Witch stuff? I was like, got me, man, you got me.
Old bait and switch.
Yeah, did the shiny quarter trick, like, hey. And yeah, whenever I kind of came clean, and it's like, yeah, man, Chris isn't feeling it anymore. What is this something you'd want to do? He's like, well, do you want me just to do the album? Or it's like, no, man, I want you to front the band. He's like, hands down, I'm in, all in, man. I was like, yes.
That is because that actually really does answer. Well, it kind of segues into a couple of questions because the first time I heard you guys was back in 2009. And oddly enough, the first thing I'd heard was when Matthew was the vocalist, and it was your cover of "Roses on White Lace" by Alice Cooper, which I thought was fucking incredible. But then all of a sudden, like, I get wind that Paul Di'Anno's touring, and there's this band called Icarus Witch. I'm like, oh, I've heard those dudes. And I literally drove from Atlanta to Raleigh to see the show at what was at the time was called the Volume 11. It was like a little tiny like armpit of a club, but it was such an amazing show. And so just to kind of start like a little further back, like, how did that come about? Like, I mean, how does the band from Pittsburgh end up being Paul Di'Anno's backup band?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, at the time, Paul was on Cleopatra Records with us, so we shared a label. And there was always talks about Paul coming to the States. And, we were just stoked to just even see the tour, like, oh man, that'd be so cool to see Paul.
Yeah. Cause they had been talking about it for like a good 2 or 3 years prior that like he was going to come to the States and do this tour. And I was like, okay, when is it going to happen?
Yeah. And about, I would say probably, the second year that it was kind of mentioned, we were contacted to be on the bill, and also, possibly, whatever, a few members of us play, whatever, as this backing band, and got super stoked for it. And of course it fell through. So we were all bummed, what I mean? Like, oh, that would have been cool, but it was a long shot. And then it was about a year and a half later, we got contacted again from Lee Hart, Paul's manager, which is he actually ex Fastway frontman.
Right. Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, we really want to make this happen. We have a couple entertainment attorneys working on it. We want to get Paul back over there. We really want you guys to be the backing band." And it's like, all right, here we go again. Yeah, get my hopes up. It's like,
take my Christmas presents away.
Yeah, I'm like, and sure as shit, like within a couple months, there we are in a rehearsal room with Paul. I'm going, holy shit, it's actually happening.
So what was that like? I mean, because obviously being a musician who is very highly inspired by that, that era and that genre and that time period of metal. I mean, to be in a rehearsal room with Paul Di'Anno, I mean, we've all heard stories of Paul, obviously, but what was it like?
To tell you the truth, at first I was scared shitless.
Because of those stories that you'd heard, probably,
yeah,
right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
man. I mean, the guy's known as the Beast for a reason. So I'm thinking, I was like, oh man, and if I flub one note and fucking Running Free, this whole tour's shot.
He's gonna like arm check me to the ground or something.
Yeah, and and especially like ramping up, like, okay, a week out, like Paul's flying in next week. We're gonna pick him up at the airport and bring him down to rehearsal, and I'm watching interviews with him. I was like, oh my God, this guy frightens me. And but he came in the room, he made first thing he did, he kind of made a fucking joke, and just put the whole room in a relaxed state, and we jammed out, and he's like, I don't know how much I'll sing, rehearsal, just kind of want to hang out with you guys, and we started with Running Free. He's like, I might chime in a little bit here and there. And before you know it, he sang every word. And it was just awesome. Like at that point, as soon as he hit the verse, like the hair on my arm stood up. I was like, that's Paul Di'Anno. Like, yeah.
Because I remember, even seeing some footage and hearing footage from before that tour, and of course that was kind of when he was in kind of a pretty bad place. I just remember going, God, I don't know how good this is going to be, but man, there was something about that run, and I always wanted to equate it to maybe even a little bit of you guys like injecting some kind of youth into it, that like. He just seemed to really pop on those shows. And like my buddy, him and I are both huge Maiden fans, obviously, we were just like in awe at how fucking great it was, and like how good he sounded, and that I don't know, it just all seems to just work on that run.
And I think a lot of that has to do, like, we did a ton of research on the bands he was touring with in Europe and South America, and stuff like that. We'd watch videos and like, okay, they arrange it this way, like okay, they do this. And me being such a Maiden fan and fanatic, I was like, oh man, they don't do the ending harmony line in it's Solo Killers, what the shit. Like I'm like, I'm just nitpicking everything. I was like, fuck that, we're doing it the right way, like we're doing it this way, and I think that really like lent itself, like it kind of the little bit of ego took over, like, no way, we're gonna do it the right way and pay attention to the small details. And one thing that Paul, our second run, we became really, really close, all of us, but especially Paul and I, we would just sit there and talk about Three Stooges and all kinds of shit, and we just became tour buddies. And one thing, he would say to us, he goes, man, he's like, most bands just go out there and they'll play their set and give 100%. And when it comes to my set, they'll give 55. He's like, you guys stay on top of it all night long. The energy's always there. And I think that was important to Paul, and brought out a better performance in him. He just didn't have to go out and sing the same old songs every night. He was able to entertain, and that, to me, that's the difference between seeing something like that and going like, oh yeah, it's Paul, he sounds good, and going, wow, man, that was a show, you know.
I mean, I just remember thinking there was nothing cooler than like when you guys did oh God, what was it? I think it was Phantom of the Opera, and like a mosh pit broke out, and all of a sudden I was like, good God, dude, I feel like I'm at Ruskin Arms right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the stage was literally like up to my thigh or something, you know? And like me and my buddy were up front and we were getting slammed and we were all pumping fists. And I just remember thinking like, this is the spirit of old school Maiden that, you know, that I missed, you know, as a youth, you know, that I didn't, because I never got to see that, you know, and so getting to see Paul in that setting and with you guys backing him up, I just remembered thinking that this is just fantastic. Like, I hope this happens again. So why didn't it?
Well, we did 2 full US runs with Paul. And the second run was, in my opinion, was my favorite one. Just because we knew Paul, we were also comfortable with him. We knew the set list incredibly well. We got to add some other songs that we didn't get to play yet, like Genghis Khan, and it was like, shit, this is awesome. And so we finished that run, and instantly, like, we were home for, I don't know, maybe a month, and got news that we were going to do a, like, I don't know, 10, 12 to 8 Canada run, and then take a break and possibly do, you know, more of like, there were talks of us doing like Mexico and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And sure as shit, like, I don't know, wasn't probably not even a month or two out from the Canadian run. Got word that, Paul had some legal issues, and I was like, son of a bitch, like, and wasn't going to be allowed back in the country or whatever for the immediate time being.
Right.
And so that just squashed that. I was like, shit, man, like that's a bummer, because I was really looking forward to that. And that's whenever, you know, we were kind of in the middle. I wouldn't say in the middle, probably towards the end of writing for Rise.
Right.
Yeah, because that second run, the first run was with Matt,
right,
is Witch vocalist, and then second run was with Shaner. So obviously, like, I was pumped up. I loved that second run. Just because, well, I got, you know, my buddy Chris with me. We're, you know, singing, playing some newer songs. I get to hear his twist on the old Witch stuff. And so, like, to not have a chance to do it again really bummed me out.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, who knows what's going to happen. I talk to Paul regularly. He's waiting some medical treatment now. That way he can kind of get back to being, you know, his old self again.
Well, that's amazing. Well, be sure to tell him I've been trying to get him on my podcast.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Put in a good word for me.
Because I'll throw it out there. Yeah,
man, but like, so to kind of go back to what you were talking about, so to kind of pick up where you talked about where Christopher came in, I thought Matthew was such an excellent singer, but he had such kind of like a darker quality to his, almost like an Alice Cooper-esque kind of delivery, which is ironic being that the Roses on White Lace cover and whatnot. But I think with Christopher came a more, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but almost a more accessible sound, if that makes sense, you know, like it definitely had more of like a, you know, singer, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, as opposed to the kind of darker thing.
Yeah. And that was definitely a kind of calculated decision on, you know, not how Chris was going to deliver it, but just like, I knew Chris's voice so well. And I said, man, you know, this is going to kind of take the edges off the box that we live in.
Right.
You know, I wanted to round off the edges. I didn't want to be so single faceted. I wanted people that aren't necessarily into straight up European true metal to, you know, only those people to like us. I wanted this to be accessible to people that might only like, you know, certain, you know, a little bit of metal. I wanted them to go like, okay, these guys are pretty cool, and then still be metal as fuck, you know?
Right. Which kind of goes to the accessibility aspect of it, you know, which is, you know, even bands like, I mean, I don't know, even like I kind of always thought that like the difference between, you know, Di'Anno and Dickinson was that Dickinson kind of brought more of an accessible sound, you know, to the fold. So it's kind of like you said, you know, it's calculated, but it's a smart move, you know?
Yeah. I just think it's one of those things, it's the difference between, you know, someone that can shred metal guitars, but you put them in a blues jam and they just get lost. You know what I mean? So singers are very much like that. Like a singer can fucking belt out anything and sound good, you know? And then there's guys that just like, they do one thing or a couple things very, very well. And I always loved like the bluesy rock metal singers, you know, like Coverdale, you know, Paul Rogers, like all the classic voices, you know. I always loved that. And that was something, the quality that Chris brought to the table is, well, he can sing the shit out of some Maiden and Dio, but he can also, you know, give you some Foreigner action. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, like that's what I want. You know, I love that shit. Like, you know, some of my favorite Deep Purple stuff is the stuff with Coverdale on it and Glenn Hughes and, you know,
dude, we are going to be like BFFs after this, man, because that's like, cause I get kicked a lot, but that's my favorite Deep Purple era is that Coverdale Hughes era. Like you just can't, I mean,
yeah, man,
even that 70s era Whitesnake stuff, man, like Heart of the City, you know, Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City and shit like that. Yeah, I'm just like, good God, man.
Yeah, everyone gives me grief over that shit too, but Jason and I fly that flag high, man.
Oh, good. Well, we're on the same. We're on the same the same marching team here, then. You know. So. Yeah,
and kind of the same. I didn't want to lose that whenever, you know, Christopher decided that he didn't want to continue. I didn't want to lose that portion of the band, and so that was another reason why Andrew was definitely the right choice. I was like, man, Andrew's voice lends itself to that too. It's very open sounding. It's very strong, mid-range rock metal voice, you know,
right?
And brings other things to the table. Like sometimes I hear a little bit of like Tommy Shaw in him, and I'm like, yeah, okay, right on. This is gonna be cool, you know. And his delivery is just so strong, and that's something that I think is super important for any frontman, whether it be a rock band, a pop band, or a metal band. You know, I think, you know, for the person in front singing, their delivery has to be 100% all the time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, without you know being rumor-esque or like digging too much, what was the reason behind Christopher's departure? Because I felt like Rise was just such a that made my top albums list that year, and it was, and I even saw you guys here in Atlanta. I forgot, who were you guys touring with? Was that, were you guys with White Wizard?
Yeah.
Because I remember that, because every band that opened up for White Wizard kicked their asses, which was great, you know? So I just remember you guys were just so fantastic. You know, and
thank you. That was where Marietta?
Yeah. I was in Marietta. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But and I just remember thinking, like, this is such a great lineup, and like this is like the perfect, you know, like vocalist though. So I mean, what kind of led to his departure?
Chris and I are probably bestest of friends. We have been for probably longer than as long as I've known Jason. So probably like 15 years.
Right.
And whenever we kind of took a hiatus and regrouped, and Jason had to, you know, he took his spiritual hiatus, kind of, you know, moved to Salem. He needed a break. Chris and I got together regularly. We were playing gigs and cover bands together. We got together to write Witch stuff. Just kind of trying to keep the fires burning, and kind of lost. I don't know whether he lost his drive for it. He had a lot of stuff going on. And then whenever Jason moved back and we're like, all right, fuck it. Full speed ahead. Dave, our other guitar player at the time, he had taken a full-time gig with the WWE. Mm-hmm. And so he was doing like 200 some travel dates a year. Still is, actually. And so it made it really tough for him to commit to anything. So we said, okay, man, we'll try to do this thing and just keep pushing forward. And our live drummer then, he had other obligations that he had signed on to. And so then it was left like, okay, it's me, Chris, and Jason, and all right, let's pick up the pieces here. And pretty soon it's just like the responses to emails got further and further apart. Even though Chris and I were seeing each other on a regular basis, it was like every time the Witch came up in topic, just kind of got shied away from. And finally, he's like, I don't know if I can do it. Just to I don't know if I have it in me anymore to do it. Right. And which I understood. But
it's also admirable to kind of just come straight out and just say it, as opposed to trying to force something and then have it just kind of crumble, Yeah,
exactly. Like he didn't, and that's the way Chris is. And I admire that about him. Like he's not going to do something half-assed just to do it. Right. And it's something that I know, like he completely, he's very proud of, his time in the Witch. He's extremely proud of Rise, as am I. Like, I remember the conversations him and I would have. Are we going too far with this? Or are people going to get it? Like, he was so worried. He's like, are people going to get it? Or are they just going to fucking be mad at the album? Like, because he was worried. And I said, no way, man. I said, what we're coming up with is awesome. And that was where Goodbye Cruel World kind of came into play. We just wanted to take where we left off with Rise and go bigger.
Well, so it's Goodbye Cruel World. Was some of that stuff written with Christopher, or was this stuff that, or you said you started demoing stuff and sending it over to Andrew? So did Andrew have a hand in writing any of the material, or was this like all like basically between you and Jason, and then just kind of recruiting Andrew in?
Some of these riffs have been around since Draw Down the Moon.
Oh Jesus! I love that, man. You've probably got like a stack of riff tapes.
Yeah, Witch fitting. We call it the riff cauldron.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
the riff cauldron.
Because if we're searching for a part, we'll just be like, fuck it, let's go back through the cauldron. And if we're searching for something, and it always kind of, there's always a riff that comes out of it that, like, back then, whenever we come up with it or someone comes up with it, it's like, we can't use it. It doesn't really fit anything, or we'll set on it. And then all of a sudden it becomes the perfect fucking verse or the perfect bridge.
Right.
And so a lot of that stuff, a lot of the riffs, Chris he was very familiar with. In early arrangements and stuff like that, but there were no lyrics to anything. And so Jason and I started really kind of revamping arrangements, coming up with new parts, really wanted to focus on the songwriting aspect of it.
Right.
Rather than just throwing a bunch of parts together and giving it a title and calling it done. So there was a lot of stuff that, like Jason and I had completely demoed out that we gave Andrew and said, hey man, put your twist to it. You know what I mean? There's almost, there's demos for 50% of the album with me singing on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Which could either be a good or a bad thing.
Oh, it's a fucking horrible thing, man.
It's a fucking horrible thing.
Yeah, there's reasons why I can never be president. And that's fucking one of them, probably. Because, like, if that shit ever sees the light of day, I'm going to be like, oh, man.
Now, see, this is the kind of shit that makes me want to hack the cauldron. You know what I mean? And, like, kind of see what I can come up with.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, like, I'm trying to think. Fuck, like anti-venom, anti-venom, even Silence of the Sirens, Possessed by You. My God, I think even Lightning Strikes. There's a bunch of them where I just demoed out the ideas that we had, came up with some melody ideas, and some rough word sketches, and demoed it out and sent it to Andrew. And then there's ones that completely, I just said, hey man, we're drawing a blank on this. Write something, please. Like Misfortune Teller was whenever he sent that back, I was like, oh my God, yes. Like that's like, you're living inside my head. Like that's exactly what I was thinking, but couldn't get it out,
See, and that's such a great thing because, like you said, it's one of those things that, especially in bands, when you have these changes and sometimes they don't work, like to feel like you've not only picked up where you left off, but you've kind of stepped it up just a little bit. Like it kind of revamps, and that energy really did come through on this record. Because I'll be honest, like I'm a fan of when I'm a fan of a band, like, I mean, I want everything, I say this a lot, but like, I want the bootlegs, the demos, everything. I want everything that every singer sang on or whatever. But when this album came out, man, I was a little nervous because I was like, really? Another singer? God, how's this going to be? And then I listened to it and I was just like, it's not like you start over every time, but like I said, it's like the quality just never seems to digress. It always just seems to be like, I don't know, like stages. Do you know what I mean? Like eras. Like like there's the Matthew era, and then there's the Chris era, and now there's the the Andrew era, and they all work together. And so if you've got the right guy, when you hit the road or you go to perform live, essentially that guy is going to be covering like all the eras of Icarus Witch. So it has to work on not only just a new plane, but on all the previous planes of Icarus Witch.
Oh, absolutely. And first off, thanks, man. That's an awesome compliment, especially from you. I don't know, like that's awesome. Thank you. And that again is something that's like always in the back of your mind. Like, okay, cool. The new shit sounds awesome, but fuck, we got to play the moldy oldies too, Right. Yeah. And I was so, with both Christopher and Andrew, but especially with Andrew, man, I was so relieved. Like, we had no idea how the old stuff was going to sound, and we ripped into like Out for Blood, and I was like, oh fuck yes, yeah, man. Oh yeah, badass. And so we did a few of them at the release party. We did like Black Candles, Out for Blood, did Tragedy, and that was that's what Andrew goes. He's like, man, he goes, I thought the Matt stuff was going to be the hard stuff for me to sing. Mm-hmm. He's like, but it's the Shaner stuff. He's like, fuck that guy. He's like, because it's just tough to sing. Oh, good God, dude. Tragedy is like fucking like, I just remember when that album came out that I was like one of those dudes that's like tries to sing along with it. I was like, yeah, and that's what I sound like a broken trumpet, but I was just like, damn, man. That's what Andrew's like. He's like, he'll sing 5 words and there's like 18 notes in it. He's like, Jesus Christ, he's like an acrobat. But it's, whenever I hear Andrew singing now, I'm like, fuck, that sounds awesome. And it really does. Like he he puts a little twist to it. He sings his ass off on it, and his voice lends itself so well. He's kind of a chameleon, you know what I mean? And it's in a good way, to where like, all right, you know it's Andrew singing, but you're not missing anything. You know what I mean? Well, and that's really important.
And that's the beauty about having the right person, you know, because kind of as in like my band, we just got a new drummer, and we, you know, he's a great drummer, super talented guy, you know, but like one of the things we kept telling him is like, you know the structures of the songs, but don't come in and try to play everything he played, man. Put your feel to it. Put your spin on it.
Yeah, man. It's DNA. You got to put your DNA on it.
You have to, man. Like, throw it to the wall and see if it sticks. And if it doesn't, we'll work on it, you know? But like, you know, like, and I think that's what I always value, you know, or not really valued, but like, appreciated is the right word in lineup changes would be like when a singer could come in or any other member of a band could come in and attack, you know, different eras of a band that he or she wasn't even involved with, and take those songs and just like own the hell out of them, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, and
because I was gonna say, I saw Alice Cooper recently, and like Nita Strauss, you know, who's been his guitar player for a while.
Oh yeah.
Like, she has, like, Poison has become like her signature tune on stage lately. You know, like she does a guitar solo and goes into Poison, and I'm just like, I don't even think of whoever it was that played that song originally. Like, to me, like, that's her song now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah. Trying to think who the hell was it? Isn't it the guy that's in UFO now? Wasn't he on that album?
Yeah, God, that was the Trash album, and I'm pretty sure there was so many. Sure it's
the guy from UFO now.
It was. Jesus Christ, I can't remember the guy's name. Luckily, I'm at a computer, because now you got me like actually looking this shit up. So, let me see. Let's see. Well, it lists John McCurry as the guitar player, but I think his touring guitarist was part of that band.
Yeah.
It's killing me to remember. Now I'm going to be... My ADD is going to fucking kill me. Thanks a lot, man.
Sorry. Planted the seed.
You planted the seed. Now I'm going to be on a quest now all day, you know, and I'll text you later and be like, found it. You know what I mean?
Got it.
I got it. You know, but I liked where you were going, where you were talking about the album release, and how he was able to, you know, tackle all the different eras of Witch stuff and everything. What are the plans from now? I mean, like, we've got a great release from you guys, which is coming, just in on the last minute of the year, which I have to say, it was like, you know, this is where I feel like I have to be careful, because this time of year is when I start making my albums list, and then all of a sudden, like, I see bands are putting out albums like in like November and December. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me, man. And then all of a sudden, like, you guys put out, I wasn't even expecting it, and all of a sudden I was like, fuck, okay. And then I went and looked at my list that I'd already made, and I was like, all right, somebody's got to go, because this fucking Icarus Witch album is fucking great.
Nice. Yeah, so, I mean, and it's a dangerous time to release an album.
Oh yeah,
it really is. You know, there's fucking, it seems like, especially this year, like, there's fucking so many late releases, and
more releases came in, like, from like October to now than like I mean, because I remember like in July going, this is a slow fucking year, man. Like, nobody's putting anything out really, you know. And then all of a sudden, like start like around September, you know, I was like, okay, here they come. You know, Cadavers put out a live album. We've got so and so put this out. You know, Circles Around the Sun put out an album. Icarus Witch put. You know, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, they're all coming at me at the last minute, man. Like, yeah, you know, I think I started making my list like 3 weeks ago, and now it's going to change by like 5 bands. You know?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
You know, but so, what are the plans? Are you guys gonna round out the lineup, hit the road? I mean, like,
yeah, I mean,
you know,
we have a pretty solidified lineup now with Justin Walker behind the kit. He's been playing with us on and off for like, I don't know, probably 6 years, I think.
Oh, and by the way, I have to point out you had my boy John Rice on the album.
Oh God, yeah. John is a beast.
So I know John from his Scorpion Child days, because those guys are good friends of mine, and he was
awesome
a monster. He was a monster in that band. So like, he's a monster in general. You know?
Yeah,
so,
like and a great dude too.
Such a sweet guy.
Probably another thing that kind of, you know, before the album came out, like everyone's going, John Rice, like that's the dude from Job for a Cowboy and Behemoth, and like they're probably like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Because not a lot of people, you know, not as many people knew of the Scorpion Child stuff. And I was like, you know, if more people would know that, they'd be like, oh, I see it.
Man, dude. Matter of fact, when the Scorpion Child guys told me, they were like, oh yeah, we got a new drummer. I'm like, who is it? They were like, John Rice. And I'm like, how the fuck is that going to work, man? But then it's exactly like you said, to kind of harken back to earlier in the interview. He's a musician that can wear many hats, and who obviously, you know, has very many interests and musical, tastes, you know. So, you know, his gig in Scorpion, and that album he did with Scorpion Child, I mean, they were just, you know, I mean, like I was just like, you know, I couldn't listen to Job for a Cowboy for more than like 30 seconds, you know, because it gave me a headache. It was so much, you know, but like,
makes you anxious.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'd have to take a Xanax, you know what I mean, and make it through a record, you know, but, you know, like to hear him with Scorpion Child, I was like, God, what a transition. But like, again, you know, being a musician, that is, you know, inspired that's by multiple styles, and doesn't tie himself down. You know, it was great to hear him on you guys, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, it came at the right time too, because it was, you know, another Pittsburgh guy. We were like, oh man, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. You know, for one, kind of bring it back to the region. But to hear that he was down to do the album, I was like, oh man, this is going to be cool. And as soon as I stepped in the room and heard him fucking riff off a couple things, like, oh shit, yeah. Like, yep.
Would have been amazing for him to be a full-time member, but I think Behemoth kind of has a hand over you guys.
Like, the dude, I mean, he's got so much on his plate, he had to get other plates. You know what I mean?
He's got like one of those school lunch trays, you know, with the multiple like sections, you know?
Exactly. So, I mean, I completely understand, and, you know, completely kind of empathize with him. You know, whenever you have so much shit you're doing, you got to make sure you don't overextend yourself.
Right.
But yeah, John's an awesome dude. Did a great job on the album. And it was kind of it was awesome to watch too, because I'm just watching him play. It's like, yep. Yeah.
Right.
He's like, you know, he'd take like 3 cracks at a tune and be like, he's like, anything you want me to change? It was like, no. Like, we're good, dude. Like, it was awesome. It was refreshing, and one of those things definitely put my mind at ease.
Right.
And it was just a fucking clinic, man. It was like,
right.
It was like watching a drum clinic. I was like, wow. So, but yeah, with the lineup, it's pretty much solidified. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if we're going to go back to the 2 guitar player thing or not. Mm-hmm. As of right now, no. Which is cool in itself. Because I have to rethink the way that I play a lot of the old stuff. And Tragedy being one of the weirder ones.
Oh yeah.
To do is a as a 1 guitar player band.
Because that's got some of that dual action, you know, that twin guitar thing, you know, it's hard to do, when.
Yeah, exactly. And so I get to pick and choose parts, which makes it interesting for me and fun for me. But also at the same time, I keep going, why the fuck do I write shit like this?
It's like, why can't I just write it for one guy and then just have another guy do shit later?
God damn it. It's like, it's like, Jesus Christ, you love Ozzy so much. Why don't you just fucking write a single guitar player album? Fuck.
That's fucking great. Yeah, no, exactly. Because I remember the Scorpion Child guys, which is even funnier, was that at one point they kind of, Chris Coworth, the guitar player for Scorpion Child, they went to a single guitar player lineup and ended up having they were a 4-piece for a while. And he said the same thing. He was just like, man, I had to completely, rethink my game. And like, I was not, ready for that. He said, but it was a challenge because all of a sudden, like, you can't just rest on your laurels when you've got someone else to back you up, because if you're the only guy up there, like, you have to have your shit together.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Like, you're not hiding it with fucking delay and shit. That's what I always tell, like, even like my students, I say, you know what, like, you can throw a bunch of effects on there and delay, like, you think you're hiding behind it, but you make a mistake, then you made a mistake fucking 10 times because delay just fucking makes it even worse. Like,
God, don't even get me started on looping, man. Because if you loop a fuck up, that's even worse, man.
Oh, exactly.
It takes you twice as long to get out of it.
Yeah, like, I'm not going anywhere fucking near that bag of garbage. like Jesus, man. Like, no, thank you. I'll if I make a mistake, I'm gonna make it once.
Yeah, and just keep rolling, So
yeah.
Well, so are you guys gonna tour though, or like what's
we're looking for some decent opportunities actually as we speak. We did release one Pittsburgh date in the spring. We're going to be playing with Jakey Lee's Red Dragon Cartel.
Oh, that's again. Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
That should just be a tour. That would be so ideal for you guys. That'd be like a great tour.
That's where my mind is at.
Because he has a date here, and that would mean Icarus Witch would play Atlanta. So.
And we're pretty good friends with Anthony Esposito, not only his bass player, but his the guy that produced the album.
Correct.
And, recorded
he was in Lynch
place.
Mob and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And, kind of like, hey, man, let's make a run of this, So you never know. We might, it'd be cool to jump on some of those dates, but we are definitely looking to tour. I know we have some Witch news we'll be announcing soon. Some off the beaten cuff stuff. Mm-hmm. Something. This will be some cool, fun news. And there'll be a Pittsburgh date attached to that as well, actually, before the end of this year. So, looking forward to that. And, yeah, man, like, we're just going to look for some touring opportunities. I know we're going to take, I think, January off from gigs all in general, unless, of course, unless something, pops up.
Right.
Because that tends to happen with this band. We've actually had to pass on so many cool touring opportunities that sometimes I look back like, was that the right decision? But also as you get older and wiser, you just can't jump on a tour because it's thrown at you.
Yeah. I mean, you have to really be, selective, about, how, because I mean, even though as musicians we like to say we're not in it for the money, it does cost, and so it's kind of looking at it going like, do I want to come home with $2,000 in my pocket, or do I want to come home with $2,000 out of my pocket, what I mean?
Exactly.
So, it's like,
then it's got to be we were offered a bunch of really cool tours, but we didn't have anything to support at the time.
Right. So which actually doesn't do much to leave a footprint. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, okay, Rise has been out for 4 years. We're not anywhere close to even demoing an EP even. and we got offered an Ingve tour. It was like, damn it.
Yeah, but see, the smart move on your part, though, goes back to, again, what you said earlier about not rushing to do something just to get it done, because then you just end up making a shitty decision.
Yeah, exactly. And, and that's what, even at the time, it's like, well, it's, you look at it as a decision maker, as a manager, rather than as a musician,
right.
Like, oh yeah, fuck, it'd be cool to play fucking Ingve every night. And then the manager part of you says, but fuck, you don't have anything new to fucking sell. It's like, oh, yeah, that's true.
I got this box of Rise CDs we can sell. I mean,
yeah, like, hey man, we did another run of Roses on Whitelist EP
with like a bonus track of me singing.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the demo of me singing. The CDR. Here's the CDR we have at the merch booth.
Dude, trust me, I've seen worse, man.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot worse, dude.
Yeah, we toured with a band that had a CDR at their merch booth, and it's like, really? Wow, you guys really thought this one through.
Dude, I saw a band who did like a pretty big little, like one of those kind of like multi-band metal fest type bills here in Atlanta, there's like little 5 or 6 band one-nighter things, and I literally saw a band who at their merch booth had business cards. That was what, with like, they were like, I was like, so where can the album's gonna be done, where can I get it? Well, we haven't figured that out. And I'm just going, but you have, I'm just like, you guys,
get
people
your
need
shit
to
together, man.
Stuff. Yeah, I was like, people need to think about these things, and like, and how are they? Because to be honest, now that I'm telling that story, I couldn't even tell you the name of the band, and that tells you a lot. You know what I mean?
Exactly, man.
But I mean,
and it goes the same with, like you said, rushing to get something out. Like, it's actually so counterproductive. Because that's going to be the lasting impression. So like, don't, take your time and do it right. Which is probably why we had a 6-year hiatus, you know what I mean, in putting out new music.
Right.
That's why I said, holy shit, this is going to be Chinese democracy. But
well, I mean, at least you didn't record the album 30 times and kick everyone out. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
You'd have like 20 different Icarus Witch lineups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
hey, fuck, maybe that would have been a good move. We could have released it 4 different times.
I don't know. And you could have even had Buckethead in your band. Would have been fucking, whatever. The Icarus Witch with like a nunchuck solo, and like shit, like, whatever. So, but
exactly.
Quinn, thanks so much for taking the time to talk, man. This has been, obviously you and I are definitely talkers. I could feel like I could talk to you all fucking day.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
But congrats on like a great album, and congrats on just keeping it going for 15 years, man. It's a big feat. And where can my listeners find out some information and music about you guys? And don't give them a business card.
No. So of course, IcarusWitch.com. Mm-hmm. If you're not into the, whole URL thing, all the big social, the social sites, mm-hmm. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, that whole thing.
You guys are also on Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify,
mm-hmm.
iTunes. Usually, I think FYEs, the ones that are still around. Best Buys, Bandcamp, all of those things. But hey, and I always tell people this: if you have a local record store, go to your local record store. Support that shit. I think it's super important. We're lucky enough to have people selling actual music. So if you have one in your town, go get it there.
That's a great statement, because Atlanta does have a few really great, independent record stores here, and I can't salute them enough for the things that they do for smaller bands that, like you said, the big box stores kind of normally wouldn't even pay attention to, and who would have ever thought that the small guys would outlive the big box stores? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Like,
I think it goes back to, it's an experience, man. Whenever you go to a local record store, it's a fucking part of your day. It's an experience. It's like, oh man, I went down here and I got this, and I went down for this album, but I fucking stumbled on this. They had, fucking Live and Dangerous. It's like, I had to get it. It's an experience. It's so cool to still be able to do that. And again, speaking of which, I believe we're going to be doing vinyl soon for Goodbye Cruel World. So
that'll be, which I'm sure will be available on the website.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll be we'll be giving you guys the details and stuff on that, and you can keep an eye out for that as well.
Sounds good. Well, Quinn, thank you so much for taking the time out today, man. And
hey, man, thank you.
And good luck with everything. And we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely, man.
All right, thanks a lot, man. You take care, bud.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.
You're the undisputed queen of